Welcome to Dare, the show for innovators, entrepreneurs, and startup leaders who dare to shape the future. Your hosts today are Ned Hayes and Cecilia Mariani. Dare is brought to you by Darwaf, the superpower tech team that can make your vision a reality. The Dare podcast is excited to welcome Deepthi Madhava to the show. She's a partner at the Oregon Venture Fund, Oregon's largest early-stage investor, where she evaluates and advises regional startups and growth companies in many business sectors. Deepthi also serves as a board director at Oregon Entrepreneurs Network, helping early-stage and investment-ready startups find capital and resources. So welcome, Deepthi.
Thanks, Ned. Excited to be here.
Well, welcome to the show. So I'm curious, first of all, we're talking about Oregon Venture Fund. So could you tell us what OVF does? What is a venture fund?
Sure. So Oregon Venture Fund is a regionally focused, early stage, sector agnostic fund. We've been around for the last 17 years. And we invest in early stage startups. We've invested in about 77 startups so far. And these startups have been across sectors. And many of them, we've invested about 170 million across these startups over multiple years. And these startups have created close to 5,000 jobs, over 5,000 jobs, and raised and have a total market cap of over 4 billion. So we are excited to have made these investments. And to your other question around what is a VC, venture funds are institutional investors that invest in startups. So they, by institutional investor, they manage the capital that their investors invest in the fund. And in our case, our investors are individual investors. We have family offices investing. We also have university endowments and others investing in the fund.
Got it. Okay. So just to make sure that everybody's on the same page here, could you help us out with a little bit of explanation? We hear about angel investors and seed rounds and Series A. So could you, as an expert in the field, explain those terms to us a little bit?
Yep. Yeah, so I think angel investors are, what we call as friends and family investors. These are investors that come in very early in a startup's journey. Ideally, when the startup is barely just an idea or a concept, and the founding team could be just a single founder or a couple of founders working in the garage on an idea. There are no customers, no revenue. So these are your friends and family investing in your idea. And the next stage of investing is, I think, over the years, the definitions of seed, pre-seed has all evolved. Right now is what we call the next stage would be a pre-seed stage investing. This is where, venture funds might come in. The product is, again, probably a little more than just an idea on a deck. It could be in very early MVP stage or even a beta phase, or may not be in that stage. It just depends on, company to company, sector to sector. But the founding team has evolved their vision. They at least have a vision. They're able to articulate that vision. And customers may or may not be there yet. There might be some discussions with very early stage pilot customers. So that's what we define as pre-seed stage. And then the next stage would be a seed stage. This is where an MVP product, minimum viable product, at least exists. And then there might be some early endorsements of paying customers. And again, these definitions are extremely different from sector to sector. And what I'm defining here is, you can consider this for an application software. I think these definitions would fit for an application software company. So in the seed stage, an MVP product would exist. There might be very small revenue, may not be in some cases as well. The team is growing. Ideally, there is there's someone at least who's able to take the product to market, and in most cases it is the founder or one of the co-founders. But in some cases, if it's a technical founder, there could be another leader, part of the executive team, who can bring this product to market, has that expertise to bring this product to market. And then Series A would be where you're beginning to see go-to-market motion kick in. There is a product, there are paying customers, or at least some very early endorsing customers or design partners. The revenue could be at least somewhere around, I think at Series A stage, ideally you want to see anywhere close to $1 million in revenue. The team has grown. You're beginning to see evolution of an engineering team, a go-to-market team, and a product team. Yeah, so those would be how we typically characterize how a
Right.
company looks at different stages.
And of course, every company is unique, I would imagine. The companies have different milestones to hit, and you basically want to see that there's some sort of product market fit and some sort of traction. Is that correct?
Yes, at Series A stage, definitely some traction. Seed stage, some early beginning. We should be ideally beginning to see some traction. Pre-seed stage would be more of an idea, but a vision that's being articulated well, and at least some, a plan to take this to market.
Right, right. So I've been doing software and technology startups for a while, and I've seen things kind of shift over time. That way back a few years ago, I won't say how long ago, you actually had to get money to be able to build out a basic prototype. But now with tools like Figma and other things, you can build out a prototype, get some customer feedback. You can even all the tools exist to be able to get your product up online, especially if it's a tech or digital product, and be able to begin to assess market readiness for your product. So it seems like the goalposts have kind of changed. Is that fair?
That's fair. I think way back, the philosophy of many of these builders or startups was, if you build it, they will buy it. But I think that's no longer the case. You're seeing that shift from, if you build it, will they buy it? So you want to see, you don't want to build a technology solution and then go find a business problem to solve that it solves. You ideally want to build something that clearly solves a real problem in the market. I think that's
Mhm.
the shift that we're seeing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, so when we think about companies too, you said that you've worked with OVF and Oregon Venture Fund has funded, what was it, 177 or about?
77 companies.
Got it. Okay. I'll re-edit that. So Oregon Venture Fund has funded about 77 companies so far. And so to get to those 77, how many companies do you actually talk to? Like, do you talk to more than that or just about 80 companies?
No, yeah, we talk to a lot of companies. I think on an average, we see anywhere between 250 to 300, pitches, companies, ideas every year. And not all of them are at a stage where they could be venture fundable, and not all of them are venture fundable ideas. There could be very successful businesses which may not need venture funds, right? Because I think to be venture fundable, and in order to return the kind of returns that you want to return for your investors, and a company needs to grow within a span of 8 to 10 years and exit and be able to give back those returns to the investors. So, and not all ideas are able to do that because of several constraints, and in most cases it is the market constraints, right? There may not be a market for an idea to flourish in that fast pace
Mhm.
and grow. So yeah, we talked to about 300 companies. Again, out of those 300 companies, we kind of screen. And when I say screen, we invite our venture partners who are our investors, who are technology area leaders or business area leaders who understand this company's space, to take a look at it. And we get the founders to pitch to some of these experts, industry and business area leaders, and then make the decision whether we should move into diligence or not. So I would say, while we talk to a lot of companies, I think those, on an average, 45 to 50 companies is what we screen, and these are ideas that could scale or have that potential to scale, and we want to look at them to evaluate further.
Right. Well, that evaluation process must actually be a lot of work, right?
It is a lot of work. It is, screening is our first stage of getting founders to come and pitch to this team that we very carefully select. These are venture partners with relevant experience in that industry, or they could be functional area leaders, or they could be just founders themselves who have exited and have lived in the lived the life of a founder before, right? So we construct that team, and then the screening is typically a 60-minute meeting where founders get to present. There's opportunity for Q&A, and then we determine collectively if we should move into diligence or not. And diligence is time intensive, it's resource intensive, typically takes about 4 to 5 weeks to diligence companies. And during that diligence phase, we kind of, based on how the screening call went and the discussions in that screening call, we draft a diligence plan. There are definitely areas that we want to understand better coming out of that screening call. And we draft a diligence plan based on the areas that we want to understand better, or areas that showed up as initial concerns. And typically, irrespective of what those questions are, I think in diligence, we try and get at least a couple of deep dive sessions with the founders or the founding team. And this is where we dive into understanding their product or technology. We also get into understanding their plan for how they plan to take this to market, and what are their ways of how are they thinking about taking this product to market. And then we also put in, if they already have customers, we try to talk to their customers, understand why a customer is paying for a product like this, and that gives direct market input. In case of companies where there are no customers, we actually introduce potential customers to these companies and give them an opportunity to pitch to these potential customers. And that gives us very valuable feedback from the market.
Right.
And I think irrespective of whether we invest in these companies or not, we also want to leave these companies behind with some direct market input from their potential customers. And we hope that that helps the companies. And if there are already investors that have invested in this company who understand this sector or space, we talk to those investors as well. And there are also investors who may have invested in competitive products like these. And investors are always speaking with other investors. So we talk to these investors who may have invested in competing products or in products in this space, and try to understand their thesis around how they evaluate it, trying to get smarter and understanding what how they looked at this company or this problem. So yeah, there's a lot that goes behind in those 4 to 5 weeks in terms of just trying to get a better understanding of what this company and these founding team is building.
Right. Well, that sounds like a lot of work, actually, to try to figure that out. So what kind of background did you have that actually gave you the experience to be able to do that kind of diligence?
Yeah, I think most of my, prior to OVF, I was with Deloitte. I think that's where in their consulting practice, and that's where I think most of my professional grooming happened. Although way back in my career, I started off as a computer science engineer, and also did sales and business development for a short stint. But
Oh, so you've done all the things, basically.
yeah, a little bit of everything that gives a good understanding of everything that's going on in a company as it's beginning to grow. So I think that in consulting just gives you a flavor into a lot of, there are like some core consulting skills that are ingrained, which I'm very grateful for. I think being open to new ideas, new sectors. Consulting just throws you into multiple industries and multiple sectors, and you get used to being in ambiguous situations, managing stakeholders, navigating a very senior set of leaders into consensus. And sometimes there's no consensus, but I think agreeing to disagree is also the art of debate there, right? So I
Right.
think there's some core consulting skills that kind of got ingrained during my professional stint at Deloitte. Beyond that, I think from a technical standpoint, I did a bunch of different kinds of consulting gigs across multiple sectors, whether it was trying to bring a new product into a new market for a telecom company, or doing due diligence for a private equity client, or divesting a business for another financial services company. So this is like a wide variety of industry exposure and functional area exposure that consulting gave. And towards the latter end of my career at Deloitte, I was part of the internal global clients and industries team within Deloitte. It was almost like having an operator role within a consulting construct, where I led a couple of products was the product lead for a couple of internal products for Deloitte, which was used by, imagine using a product being used by 300,000 users, all within Deloitte ecosystem. I think for some of those products, building a business case, getting budget approved for those business cases, building, and then once the budget was approved, and these are like, some of them were like less than 5 million budget projects, and building a team that can bring this product to life, and then working with a small set of pilot customers to test that product, iterate on that product, and then once the product is in a good state to scale further, driving adoption of that product. Now, all of those things were some of the things that I did there. Back then I didn't understand, the dots were not connecting, but now when I apply a startup lens to it, the dots begin to connect. So bringing a product to market and getting it adopted and scaled were some things that also came in this operator role within Deloitte, which is, I think it's fascinating to look back and see how those dots connect.
Got it. Right. So your background really helped you to be grounded in what the steps an entrepreneur has to go through are.
No, yes, not directly. I think how an organization looks and scales and brings some of these ideas and products to market, but of course, at a much larger scale companies is what I think that experience provided. And when I bring that together with the experts that I work with within OVF network, I think a lot of dots start connecting, and they kind of dovetail really well together.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Well, so I'd like to turn the focus a little bit over to Oregon, because we're in Oregon, and Oregon is really where we're grounded. And as I talk to investors in Silicon Valley or even up in Seattle, it seems like they really focus on technical solutions and digital products. And here in Oregon, we have this interesting kind of consumer product market, ranging from like Salt and Straw, which I know is an OVF investment in ice cream. And then there's companies like Rumple, companies like Nike, both of whom have consumer products. Mm-hmm. So it seems like we have a spectrum of products here. Would you agree with that?
Totally agree. I think just looking back at our portfolio alone, yeah, as you mentioned, we have consumer products like Salt and Straw, we have Rumple, we have material science companies like Inpria, that was actually a OSU spinout and had a very successful exit. They make ink for used in lithography and semiconductor chips.
Fascinating.
We have life science companies, companies like AppSci using AI to enhance and fasten drug discovery process. We have In Vivo Biosystems, another of our portfolio company that basically genetically modifies zebrafish to enable them to be used in clinical research as an alternative.
I did not know about that.
Yeah, as an alternative to mice. And it's just fascinating, the science and the breadth of companies that are out there. And and I think it fascinates me, just the breadth available out there. And one of the reasons why we are able to invest in consumer product companies, to semiconductor companies, to life science, to enterprise tech, I think that is made possible because of our wide network of venture partners who bring in that breadth and experience and expertise to help us evaluate these companies. I don't think that would have been possible. It's impossible for one team of 6 people or to be experts at all of these areas. I think that's possible because of the breadth of experience that the network brings in.
Well, I'm happy to volunteer myself as an expert in ice cream. If you need tasting for Salt and Straw, happy to do that anytime. Feel free to call me.
Oh, we'll take you up on that.
Yeah. Well, I know you talk to hundreds of companies. So are there any common patterns that you see that you think companies should improve on or should think about before they come and talk to OVF?
Yeah, I think at a very high level, when we look at companies, we are looking at 3 main dimensions, right? Is there a large market opportunity here? And is this the right team to go behind that opportunity? Do they have a secret path to success? Maybe it is the network that they bring in. Maybe it is the expertise that they bring in. Maybe they have lived the problem that they're looking to solve. And then third, do they have a plan to bring that idea to fruition? And we understand that plans change as company evolves, they change. But I think to begin with, having a credible plan to really how they are going behind solving this problem, I think would be essential. So I think as companies come to pitch to us, a lot of them come and say, oh, this is a 50 billion market opportunity problem. But I think breaking that market sizing and looking at it more from a ground up, how many really customers can you go behind, and how many of them would be interested in a product like this? Start from the bottoms up and size that market, and truly see if there is really a market to go behind, and invest your time and resources, because it is a pretty long journey as a founder and not an easy one. So
Yeah,
I would urge founders to really critically think at the problem that they're solving, in with that dimension.
absolutely. Yeah. Well, so thinking about the market, thinking about the kind of market impact, that's super important. We're seeing a lot of hype lately about AI. Before AI, it was hype around blockchain, right? So how do you kind of surf that wave of hype and determine what's actually real there?
Yeah,
It
we are
must
all
be
learning. It is tough. We are all learning. We are all trying to, I think, be in lockstep with everything that's changing. And it
tough.
is it is changing a lot, and technology is improving and doubling, I think, every year. That's Moore's law now applies to intelligence with AI. Every year, intelligence of all of these systems and technology doubles. So yeah, how do we look? I think we are looking to see how core AI is to this company's sustainable, does it really give a sustainable differentiation and a competitive advantage, or is AI being slapped in out there just because it's the buzzword, right? I
Right.
think that trying to understand that is something that we dig in further on. And then, is there really a white space opportunity that this company is going behind? Is technology truly being used in a differentiated way? And that's a hard one, because of everything being so open source, technology being the differentiator it's very difficult. So I think, is there any other moat that this team has? Maybe it is their unique advantage to how they can get this to market. Maybe in some cases it is first mover advantage. So we are trying to look for what are some of those differentiators that this company has. And again, I think this is the next one, is around the age old question of, do they really have access to proprietary data that gives
Right.
them a unique advantage? And they might be either creating it or capturing it in their own in unique way. We are trying to understand that. And of course, it all at very early stage, it boils down to team. Does this team really have both AI expertise as well as expertise in this market?
Mhm.
Ideally, you want to see both to get that true advantage. So those are some very high level framework questions that we dig into. We see a lot of AI applications in the market. Just last year, we've seen applications in consumer tech, applications in legal research, applications in cybersecurity, applications in real estate technology. We are beginning to see quite a few applications of AI, which is actually very fascinating, and there's never
Mhm.
a dull day.
Right, right. It's not just the hype, it's actually putting it into the real world practice with a real application.
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm curious, have you made any investments lately that you can talk publicly about that you're excited about? Any companies you want to pitch to us?
Yes. So this is hot off the press. This we made this investment a few weeks. We closed the investment a few weeks back, but yet to announce publicly through our newsletter and other media. So yeah, this is a company called Magnify.io. It's a post-sales automation platform. So think of it as a platform that enables enterprises, SaaS companies, basically to scale their customer success teams.
Hmm.
You don't, as companies begin to hit that inflection point where they're adding more and more customers, you cannot scale your customer success team to add more headcount to support these accounts, right? At
Mhm.
some point, and especially in the current times with product led growth motion, and also just consumption based pricing models kicking off, there are a lot of companies adding more customers. They might be really small size customers, but they're adding more and more of them. And in order to support these customer accounts successfully, you need an automated or a digital way to manage your customer success.
Right.
And this company actually basically helps in automating user journeys. You can automate how you manage the next best action for an account. You can predict. It not only provides predictions on where is your revenue most at risk, but what are the accounts that are likely to churn, and not just giving insights. It takes a step beyond that and helps you orchestrate a journey to help ensure that this customer gets the next best action. Maybe it is sending them an in-app message around, hey, here's a link to this new product feature. It could be a link to their learning management system module that talks a little more about the product feature, or it could be opening a Zendesk ticket to make sure that some customer success rep calls this customer and takes action. Or it could be sending a Slack message. It could be sending a automated email message. So it orchestrates journey across multiple platforms. Quite exciting. I think we are at a time where Gainsight, which is the market leader in this space, was founded about almost a decade back, and that kind of revolutionized customer success in its own way. And maybe this is the next phase of revolution in customer success. The team is it's a strong team and well poised to take that on.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for announcing this here. Yeah. Well, I'm curious, are there any types of companies or things out there that you'd love to see somebody come and pitch you on? I mean, you might get a pitch or two from this. So
yeah, I think we are always open to hearing new ideas, new entrepreneurs and new founders come and pitch to us. I am most excited about ideas that are not just incremental improvements or marginal improvements, but something that is truly disrupting the way status quo is. And I think we are living in these exciting times where technology can and is proving to be a major disruptor. So I'm very excited to see some of those applications come to life. So yeah, any and all founders out there, we are always eager to understand what you're building. I think it's exciting.
Great, thanks. Well, so last question that we have is, what do you dare to dream? What kind of future do you imagine that you're creating? What's your dream?
Yeah, I think we are living in a very exciting times now. This is the time for Oregon to rebuild itself, and we're seeing that rebuilding happening in many ways. I think we've Oregon for a long time has been this flyover state between California and Washington with Seattle, where startup hubs have predominantly been. But I'm beginning to see quite a few, a lot of high quality founders coming into Oregon, and for whatever reasons, maybe it is lifestyle. I think we are seeing an influx of founders, which is good for the entire ecosystem, because I think that just comes in and it improves. I think competition leads to progress and improvement. And I think what better time than now, when we're seeing a lot of things shift and change. Post COVID, I feel we are living in this era of rebuilding. And
Right.
I'm excited for what could happen and how we could influence. And I'm personally excited about my contributions and how I could contribute to this exciting rebuilding phase of Oregon and surroundings here.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you for that inspirational vision that we are rebuilding, that we're building something great here in Oregon. Thank you for that. Well, Deepthi, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ned. This was exciting.
Good luck with all the pitches and investments.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks to our guests today for their great insights on DARE, the podcast for innovators, entrepreneurs, and startup leaders. If you'd like your story to be featured on DARE, just contact us at info@darwaft.com. DARE is brought to you by Darwaft, the tech team that can make your vision a reality.